Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. Excited to be here with best-selling author Noelle Harrison. Thank you so much for joining us today, Noelle.
Thank you. I'm really glad to be here.
Oh, I'm so glad to have you here. Thank you for being here. We're going to answer all of your questions about writing, about getting published. Noelle also happens to be a tutor on Jericho Writer's Ultimate Novel Writing course. We're thrilled to have you join us. So if you've got any questions about the course or interested in what it will be like working with Noelle as a tutor and a mentor, also pop those into the questions as well. I'll just, to get started, just tell you a little bit about Noelle, just in case you haven't come across her work before. And obviously, please do go and check it out. She is a fantastic writer. You've written some really wonderful, wonderful books. And excitingly, you've got a couple of new books coming out soon as well. So you have written 11 novels, which have been translated into over 13 languages worldwide, which is incredible. I know you've got a novel called The Last Summer in Ireland, which will be published by Bookature this coming October. So make a note in your calendar, look out for that. And another novel called The Witches of Vardo, which I'm really, really excited about, which you've written under the pen name Anya Bergman, and that will be published at the start of January next year by Manila Press. And over the past 20 years, you've been teaching creative writing to so many different groups of writers, from colleges to in schools to community groups, and now with Jericho Writers on our Ultimate Novel Writing course. And I know you also founded the Aurora Writers Retreats, and you're also undertaking a PhD in published works and have guest lectured at Edinburgh Napier University. And you're also a qualified yoga teacher and meditation guide, which I think is really fantastic. So we can talk a little bit about that, because I know you're really passionate about creating supportive and inspirational environments for emerging writers. So that's something I'd love to get into with you as well a bit. So welcome, Noelle, and thanks again.
Thank you. Thank you for that great introduction. I was like, wow.
Well, it's a fantastic career. And like I said, I'm really excited for the books you have coming out in the next few months as well. So everyone go and check those out when they do arrive. So if you've got any questions for Noelle, put them into the comments. We'll do our best to answer them. But just to kind of get started, it would be great to know, because you're a best-selling novelist and you've also written plays. How do you approach these different kind of projects? Does your method change depending on what style of project or what kind of writing you're doing?
Yes, definitely. I mean, I actually started out writing plays. Writing a novel felt very intimidating when I started out writing.
Yeah.
So I began with plays, and the way I create plays is, I guess, the text is quite sparse and there's a lot of visuals. There's a lot of movement. I use film as well, and sound. So it's a total kind of visual experience with the language coming in. Whereas with a novel, it's like I'm doing all those elements as well with the novel. So I'm quite a visual writer, I guess you could say, in my language. So the process is quite different. Also with theatre work, I feel when you bring that play to the director and the actors, you want space for them to bring their creative interpretation. A novel is a more solitary experience, and you have more control, I guess, over how that novel is created and how it manifests in its final product.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic. I mean, I know one of your upcoming books has been adapted from one of your plays, which is Bardo, which is fantastic. So did you feel there was more left of that story to tell then? Is that why you wanted to turn it into a book?
Yes. I mean, originally I wanted it to be a novel, but I got because it's based on true events of witch trials in Norway in 1662 and 1663. The first drafts of the novel, it was just too much. And this is something, as a historical novelist, I learned, is that you can get a little bit weighed down with research, and it just got a bit heavy. So then I decided to turn it into a play. And that's where I kind of drew out the elements. And the most useful thing about the play was I dug in deep with the characters. And then I always wanted to come back to rewriting it as a novel from the play. So I kind of had a little epiphany, I guess, from the play about how to kind of blend the historical fiction with a bit of magic realism to kind of lift the material,
Yeah.
but also kind of bring the reader on a more satisfying journey, I guess, with the
Yeah.
material.
Oh, fantastic. Well, yeah, really excited for that one to come out. It sounds right up my street. So I'll definitely be looking out for that. So I guess, you're also really passionate about creating really supportive and inspirational environments, especially for new writers. Why do you think this is important? And does this tie into your work also as a meditation guide and yoga teacher?
Yes, definitely. I mean, one of the
Mm,
things I do as a meditation guide and yoga teacher is kind of one of the classes I kind of work with is journaling as well. And I think journaling
yeah,
is just it's sometimes another word for your morning pages, which some of you might be familiar with from
yeah,
Julie Cameron's book, The Artist's Way. So
yeah.
it's about yoga, meditation, journaling can unlock your creativity very powerfully. But also,
Mm,
I feel all these self-care practices, not self-indulgent, self-care, which is a very important thing,
yeah,
um, is connects into the fact that particularly as an emerging writer, but all writers actually really need to look after their mental health.
yeah,
Um, I'm sure you're familiar with the term imposter syndrome. So
yeah.
this idea that we're not good enough, it happens to everyone. So it's not just new writers. I promise you, every writer has imposter
Yeah,
syndrome. That voice of doubt in your head telling you, who do you think you are? You can't do this. And I find over the years, having worked with lots of emerging writers, sadly, it can be the thing which blocks people, not their ability, not their
it's a
storytelling
shame.
skills, but actually the negative voices in their head kind of blocking them.
Yeah,
So I think it's crucial actually to set up an environment where you're constantly supporting yourself through different practices. You know, it doesn't have to be yoga or meditation if that's not your thing,
yeah,
but just being aware of the fact that you're not alone and everybody experiences imposter syndrome. And the key is to just write despite that negative voice.
yeah,
So yeah, I feel very strongly about this because I do
yeah,
think that some courses focus just solely on technique, and I think we need to look at the self-care aspect, the mental health aspect as well.
yeah.
Writers, we do tend to be slightly anxious, neurotic, hyperventilator.
Yeah.
TLC, I think.
Yeah, I mean, completely. I couldn't agree more. And that will be something you'll be bringing in, to your tutor group when
Yes.
when you're going to be mentoring on our ultimate novel writing course. So yeah, really, really thrilled to be having you on board. And I think it is so important, like you said. I imagine, especially for new writers who they're just trying to get their way through that door of the publishing world, and it's quite an intimidating and anxiety fueling thing. And so you do have to take care of yourself, because I think a lot of the time new writers do, and a lot of writers, even established writers, face a lot of rejection, and I think you have
Yes,
to
that's
create those
part of being a
supports.
writer. Yeah.
Yeah, so to
A lot of
create those kind of
rejection and also a lot of noise, you could say.
yeah,
It's really hard when let's say you're on social media and you're seeing other
yeah,
people getting book deals or things happening for them, and you're thinking, oh, what kind of book should I write?
yeah,
What's going to be popular, and what meditation and yoga or any of these practices can help you kind of drop into that present moment and kind of silence that noise and just get on with the business of writing the book you want to write. Don't worry, what the trends are. The best thing to
yeah,
write is the book you feel passionate about, and
completely.
just stay in that process of creativity without worrying about the end product until you're actually finished.
Yeah. So how do you kind of approach, because I know social media, it can be almost a blessing and a curse in many ways for a lot of people and writers. It's a great way to kind of, get the word out about your work. But then, like you said, it can also, be quite a toxic environment, and creating these like, I guess negative comparisons with other people. So how do you kind of approach using social media and getting your work and connecting with your readers?
Yeah, I mean, it is an important tool as a writer to, as you say, connect to your readers, especially now, you know, a lot of readers are doing book blogs, and it's wonderful that you can directly connect with your readers. I think that's
Yeah.
great. But also you can go down a rabbit hole, can't you?
Yeah.
And it can make you feel a bit icky and anxious when you start scrolling through and seeing lots of other stuff. So I guess I try to be quite strict about it, and just, you know, try to go an hour, you know, an hour a day or whatever. I mean, I think publishers do like if you have a social media profile, but you don't have to. And if it's not working for you and if it's making you anxious, then put it aside.
Yeah.
Particularly when you're writing a book. I think,
Yeah.
you know, if you're promoting a book, that's different, then you get on those things. But during the process of writing, I would say maybe just keep it aside until you're ready, you know,
Yeah.
actually go
Yeah.
out and present your work to the world.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. It's kind of you have to almost just shelter yourself a little bit in a way, just so you can allow those ideas to really like thrive and, you know, get them out onto the page and not be kind of influenced by any kind of, yeah, just kind of negative input from, which like social media can be quite bad for, I think. But then, like you said, then there's the opportunity to just really then communicate with everyone once it's ready. So it's, yeah, so I think that's a really good piece of advice, to like know how to kind of dip in and
Yeah,
dip out when
I
needed.
think if you're feeling a bit blocked in your writing, it might be interesting just to turn off those things for a while. A friend of mine runs these, they're called off-grid yoga retreats, and
Yeah.
I go and work on them with her sometimes. And, you know, you have to give in your phone at the beginning of the week, so you have no phone for the whole week.
Wow.
And it's interesting
Yeah.
because people get really creative. They're writing, they're
Yeah.
painting, they're having ideas. So,
Yeah. Just no distractions.
yeah.
That sounds, what's the name of the retreats, just in case anyone's
Oh, yeah, it's
interested?
called Off-Grid Yoga Retreats. Um,
Fantastic.
I think it's off-grid. Yeah, I think if you Googled off-grid yoga retreats, I don't actually have to hand the website.
I can put it into the comments afterwards, so in case
Okay,
people are
cool.
interested, but we'll do
Yeah.
that. But yeah, that sounds like a wonderful opportunity to just kind of really focus as well. So I guess building on from, you know, the self-care for new writers, that's incredibly important. But do you have any other kind of advice for people who are looking to get published, how they can, you know, I guess break into that world, as it were, and how like what's the best way to kind of, you know, find an agent and get their work seen by the right people?
Okay. Well, I guess the first thing I would say is make sure you're ready.
Yeah.
Don't, you know, make sure that your manuscript is the best it can be, because, you know, once you've gone down the avenue of approaching one agent or one publisher, then, and they reject the manuscript, they're not, you can't really rewrite it and go back to them and go, oh, well, actually I made it much better, unless they say, unless they ask you to, you know, unless they
Yeah.
say, come back to me again. So I would say, you know, when someone says to me, what do I do when I've written the first draft of my novel, I say, write it again. Write it again. So, I mean, I never would show anyone my first draft of a novel, not even my agent or no one. I write the first draft and then I
Yeah.
let it sit,
Yeah.
brew for a couple of weeks, and then I come back to it and I rewrite it. And it's in the rewriting I'm writing it, I feel. And this kind of, if you have this attitude, it actually can help you with your first draft, because I kind of see the first
Yeah.
draft as a vomit draft. Just get it out, get the story out. Don't worry about
Yeah.
you know, the fine tuning or the polishing of the language. Just get it out, because some of us can kind of get stuck in
Completely.
one particular part of the book and we can't seem to push forward. So jump
Yeah.
then, you know, leave that scene, go back to it. And so then once you've have your, at least your second draft, then I would recommend getting someone to professionally give you feedback on it.
Yeah.
Now I know that can be quite expensive, but you know, you could also work with another writer to give you feedback, or
Yeah.
there's ways of doing it. And then once you get your feedback, and always from someone who's not a family member, or because they're not going to give you the right feedback. They're either going to go, it's
No.
great, or they're going to go, load of rubbish, and you're going to feel crap. So
Yeah.
you
Not
know, someone
helpful.
who's a writer as well, or does that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then, really absorb those, take a while to absorb that critique, see if
Yeah.
you agree, and then maybe do another draft. And then once you're ready, really ideally you should go for getting an agent,
Yeah.
because if you go directly to publishers, you'll end up on the slush pile.
Yeah.
So you really need to go for an agent first.
Yeah.
So, I mean, probably the way I got my agent is a bit out of date because I've had her for over 20 years.
Oh, wow.
But
Gosh,
I actually sent her my manuscript, you know,
lovely.
hard copy, but I don't think you do that anymore.
Yeah. How did you know kind of who to go with? Because I've heard it's been compared to like, having a relationship with someone, like you have
Yes,
to really
yes,
trust that person.
yes.
So how did you know that she was the right person to kind of represent your work for you?
Well, I guess a little intuitively. What I would say
Yeah.
is, if you are looking for an agent, a good way to kind of work out the right agent for you is to look at the acknowledgements on the back of books that you like and see who their agent is.
That's a
And
great
always when you're
idea.
approaching an agent, it's not, do not send a generic letter. Like you have to tell them in that letter why you want to be with them. It is a
Yeah.
relationship. So with my agent, I was, in driving in my car and I heard on the radio, I was living in Ireland at the time, about this agent, Marion Gunn O'Connor, who got Cecilia Ahern this massive deal.
Oh,
And I turned
fantastic.
to my friend who's in the car with me and said, that's going to be my agent. And I
Yeah.
got her. So,
Amazing.
yeah, I just knew. I just knew.
Yeah.
But it was through, I had done a residency, a writing residency, with an Irish writer called Dermot Bolger. And he knew Marianne and he said, I think you should send your book to her. I think she'd really like it. So in
Oh,
my
fantastic.
approach, I said that he'd recommended me.
Oh,
So it always
yeah.
helps, to have a little contact. But
Yeah.
I know Jericho Writers has good relationships with agencies, which is good.
We do, and I guess that's one thing. So if you're just joining us, Noelle will actually be tutoring on our ultimate novel writing course, which is starting in October. And during the course, you will have the opportunity to meet and send your work to agents. So that's a fantastic, if you don't have those connections already, it's just a fantastic, chance to just kind of, start making those connections. So that's something, obviously we really try and help to do. So yeah, I think that's so true. And just kind of going back to what we were talking about before about getting people to read your work before you even send it off, like that is so important, isn't it? It's important to kind of have that community around you of people that you can trust who will give you honest but helpful feedback to really kind of get your work to a good place before you even send it to someone in the industry, really. So that's hopefully what we're also helping to provide on the course. So yeah, that's really wonderful. What do you enjoy about? Because I know you've taught creative writing for many years. What do you really enjoy about mentoring students and emerging authors?
Well, I do. I love teaching.
Yeah,
I just love creating a supportive environment and empowering emerging writers to believe in
yeah,
themselves. And I do believe that there's different elements involved in being, in getting yourself to a position where you're going to be published. And yes, of course, an aptitude for writing, a love for writing, technical understandings, I guess, is really, really
yeah,
helpful. But I think just as important is focus and endurance.
yeah,
So I really aim to create that kind of environment where, and this is going back again to that self-care where you can drop in and focus.
yeah,
It's like a training. It's like if you're training to do the Olympics or whatever,
yeah,
and your coach is helping you to strengthen your muscles. Well, I see myself as a coach helping you strengthen your writing muscles.
yeah,
So yeah, I just love teaching, and I always have done. But I'm so passionate about creative writing. It's like at this stage, it just feels like something that's in my blood that I can talk about. It's a very intuitive, connective part of my life. So yeah, I want to share my knowledge
yeah.
as well. And help others feel that they can do it too, that they can believe in themselves. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's wonderful. I guess going specifically back to the Ultimate Novel Writing course, so if someone is interested in having you as their mentor, I know, you know, your kind of experience is more working with certain genres. So what kind of genres would you recommend people who are writing apply to you? What are you looking for in applications?
Well, I guess first of all, I'm looking for like someone who's got a strong kind of purpose, really
Yeah,
passionate about the story they want to tell to the
yeah.
point of a healthy obsession.
Yeah,
A little bit of obsession is always good.
it
And then I
is.
guess my strongest genre would be historical. If
Mm,
you're writing anything historical, which is quite a particular type of genre with particular demands, and it can be quite overwhelming. You can feel a little kind of overwhelmed by all the research and historical details. So yeah, I'm definitely historical fiction if you're
yeah.
into that. Also, quite lyrical writing with a seam of magic realism.
Ooh,
Um,
yeah.
Not full fantasy, although I do love fantasy, but a bit of magic realism there.
Yeah.
And then, of course, my other genre that I have been writing in for years is popular literary fiction. So sometimes that's
Yeah.
called women's fiction as well.
Yeah.
And that's um, stories with mystery,
Mm,
about family, secrets, relationships. I'm good
yeah.
on romance as well. And yeah, I think that's everything I've covered.
Yeah. We've actually got a related question from Glenna. Hi, Glenna.
Yeah.
Thanks for popping your question over. She's
Hi,
just
Glenna.
asked, do agents and editors generally work with one specific genre?
No, they don't.
Mm,
No, actually, quite the opposite.
yeah.
Um, no. I mean, some agents won't represent children's writers, let's say, or they might say, I'm not
Right.
really representing thrillers.
Mm,
But no, I mean, there is, I'm not sure if it details it in the Artists and Writers Yearbook about
okay.
what agents, what kind of, I think it does. If you get the Writers and Artists Yearbook, it lists all the agents
Yeah.
who still are around, and it will say what kind of genres they prefer to work with.
Fab.
But for instance, my agent, she has writers covering lots of different genres,
Fantastic.
from auto fiction, non-fiction, commercial fiction, literary fiction.
Yeah.
She does everything. So
Yeah.
I think most agents do nowadays. And then editors, that's slightly different, I guess, because editors move around different publishing houses.
Yeah.
And again, I think they work with lots of different genres as well. But you would be wanting to go to the agents first
Yeah.
before, unless it's a little independent publisher. You can go maybe
Yes.
directly to them.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's great advice. I guess it's kind of like, you know, like you said earlier, kind of go if you've got a book that you really love, see who the agent of that author is, because then that's probably going to help, even if it's not in the genre that you're writing. That's probably going to help you decide that they would be a good match for you because it's kind of it
Yeah.
resonates with you in some way. So
Totally. And the other thing I would recommend is trying to kind of build up your platform a little bit as a writer. So
yeah,
if you've got any short stories, maybe trying to place them in journals or
yeah,
send them into competitions.
yeah.
It's usually easier to place them in journals than when a competition. It's so hard to win short story competitions, not to put anyone off.
Right.
I mean, I've
Yeah,
had no, I found it, I've only won one, I think in 20 years. It's taken like, and I've sent stuff into so many. So it is really, really hard. But there's so many journals out there. So maybe trying to get some
yeah,
working journals or, just trying to build up some kind of writing profile as well as your novel will really help when you present yourself to that agent. And also the other thing is they want to invest in you as a writer. So have
yeah.
another idea for a book as well. Have your
Yes.
second book kind of synopsis ready as well. When they go, well, what are you
Yeah,
going to do next? Well, it's this,
yeah. Oh,
that's important as well.
yeah, I mean I think that's really important to know because I think sometimes, I guess, especially on your very first book, you can only really see that and you don't really think beyond, getting that out there. But I think it's important to kind of have those like long-term career aspirations in
Easily.
mind.
Yeah.
And that will really help, to I guess, present yourself as someone who is committed to this profession. So yeah, that's great. Thank you, Glenna, for that question. That's wonderful. So yeah, I'm just kind of curious then, when you'll be tutoring on the Ultimate Novel Writing course. Obviously, we invite everyone to apply, but at what point in people's writing journeys do you think they need to be to get the most out of this course? Because I know there'll be some people who might already have a manuscript ready, but there are some people who might just have a really rough idea or a first draft. What do you think, who would most benefit from this course?
Well, I think you do need to have an idea of the book that you want to write, because it might be a little bit overwhelming if you're like, oh, I want to write a novel, but I don't know about what. So I think if you're at that stage where you're kind of beginning to write and explore creative writing, but you don't actually know what you want to write about, this possibly isn't the right course for you, because it's quite intensive and committed.
Yeah.
If you've a first draft of a novel, then it's perfect for you. But if you have a really strong idea and a passion to write a particular book, and you've started maybe roughly, or you're not finished, I still think you could very much benefit from it. I think the main thing is to approach it not as like a casual hobby or evening class. This is a serious, committed course.
Yes.
So for you to get the most out of it and to get that novel across the finish line, get that novel completed, you need to really commit to it as if you're doing a master's.
Yeah.
I actually think it's better than a master's, because you don't have to do all the academic stuff.
Yeah, because I
focus on your book.
yeah.
That's it. So yeah, I think commitment and vision and passion and purpose.
Yeah.
And if you're like going, oh, I really want to write, but I'm not sure about, just take a year to do some writing and exploring and find out what you want to write about, and then apply for Jericho next year when you're kind of in a better place to do so.
Yeah, exactly. And I know you've done your masters in the past. So how would you kind of compare that experience to what the Ultimate Novel Writing course is? And yeah, what would you kind of, I guess, it'll be different for different people depending on what they want out of the course and what their objectives are. So who would you recommend each course to?
Well, I mean, I loved doing my masters. I did it at Edinburgh Napier, and I did it at the time when I'd already published some novels, but I wanted to delve deeper into my skills as a writer. I wanted to try a different genre, and I wanted to develop my teaching as well. Part of one of the things on that master's was a teaching internship with undergrads. So I really wanted to do that. So, and the course is I did a lot of research on masters, and this particular masters at Edinburgh Napier is very focused on genre and practical skills. But there are, of course, it's a master's, so you have to do some academic modules as well. And so the difference, I guess, is just Jericho Writers is that same focus on the craft of novel writing, but it's primarily that. There's no, we did a module on looking at the theory of authorship and things like that, which we wouldn't be doing on Jericho Writers. So I kind of lost my way with your question, actually. You were saying,
I guess,
I mean, great.
Yeah, I mean, did you find there was enough time to actually do the writing when you were doing your masters?
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of different objectives. So with the masters on this, I mean, it's different with different masters programs, but with the masters, this particular masters, the major project was to write the first 20,000 words of your novel by the end of the masters. Whereas at Jericho Writers, the aim is to write the whole novel.
Whole book.
And of course, with the masters, the hope was that people were continuing to finish their novel. I think our program is hoping people will actually get the whole novel written.
That's kind of what we're working towards, I guess. So if you are interested, I guess we just want to let people know that is an alternative in case you are considering a master's, but I guess just think about what you're trying to get out of the course, and if you are looking just for that support to get your book finalized on paper and, you know, get it ready to be like submitted to agents and to publishers, then maybe that's the option for you. But obviously, you know, there's a lot of options out there, so do kind of explore. But we're really thrilled that you'll be joining us on this course, Noelle. I think, you know, you're a fantastic addition to the team, and I think also your approach to the whole well-being and, you know, creating supporting environments for writers, I think is so important, and I think it's something our students will really benefit from. So yeah, like I said, really excited to have you on board. And if you are having Noelle mentor you on the course, do go and check out the Ultimate Novel Writing course on the Jericho Writers website. I'll pop the link in the comments after we finished our chat, so you can go and have a look there. We might even have a promo code for you, so might pop that in there as well. Do check it out. And yeah, and then just send in your application and choose Noelle to be your tutor. And yeah, and the best of luck. Any kind of final words to new writers or writers hoping to kind of get their work out there?
Well, I just really looking forward to tutoring. Can't wait to.
Yes.
I'm really looking forward to nurturing my little group of mentees. That's really exciting for me. So, any final words? Well, keep writing. Just keep writing. Even if your life feels very busy and overwhelming, just keep hold of that thread of your story, even if it's in your mind. Just keep it alive, the spark alive, and don't give up. Keep going. Don't give up.
Yes, it's great advice. So I guess on that note, we'll be ending the call today. If you have just joined us, I'm so sorry, but you can go back and watch from the beginning once this event has ended. So please do. There's a lot of pearls of wisdom in there from Noelle, so definitely worth rewatching. And hopefully we'll be speaking to you again soon, Noelle. But otherwise, do apply to the course and do apply to be Noelle's student. So yeah, we hope to see you again here soon. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.